What's up guys, this is Wolves here, and today we're going to be doing another video presentation on meta changes in patch 6.22, which is also the preseason changes, and it's probably going to be relevant all the way throughout until the launch of the next season. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the previous video that I did. Make sure to check it out. It's probably going to be down below in the whole lot of videos that you do see on my channel, so do please check them out and make sure to subscribe for more videos. Right, so let's get straight to it. So I'm going to go to the very first slide that we have is the assassin update. Now, probably the most balanced assassin changes we've had to date, all the way throughout beta to season 6, right? And I really like these changes because it offers the assassins, it tells the assassins basically, hey look, you've got the power in your hand, you've got your power trough, but you do need your items to scale, and there is a level of counterplay in casting your ability. So it takes skill. There is counterplay to you, so you need to be able to overcome those obstacles, and it's sort of like in the very best spot it can be. So we're going to talk about the power troughs. So the power troughs I'm expecting to see with this assassin changes is that they tend to spike up when they pick up their first or second items. I think it's because of the ratios and the scalings that they are getting. It was an overall buff, but because of the low cast time animations they added in, or like just the cast time in general between abilities or within abilities, it kind of offers the ability for someone to sort of react to these sort of plays. So at a high level of play, it will be super good to play with these champions, right? And obviously, like, the more items you get now allows you to scale a little bit better, and I think that it also offers the ability to scale well into the late game, so viability in late games. Now, because of the masteries and runes, I think the assassin, I actually didn't realize that I was supposed to be putting in the assassin masteries as well. So the assassin masteries is sort of helping these guys out and to be much more relevant in the late game. And I think there's also the addition of something new, which is called I can't even remember now, lethality. There we go. So right, so they had the addition of lethality, which is kind of interesting because it works off 40% in compare to, like, one lethality is 40% of one armor, so basically it's 0.4, right? So yeah, so it's a bit weird, but I do want to see it, and I think it still works out in the late game. And obviously counterplay because of the cast times that you are going to see within the ability cast, and obviously they sort of need to hit their benchmarks or certain conditions for them to be super viable and to be super effective. So assassin changes, really hyped up for this change. It's gonna be epic, and we're gonna see the rise of the assassin meta more so than we have seen in the previous seasons or patches, right? So let's move on to the next slide. This one, it's gonna be basically talking about the tank meta. So previous seasons dictate, oh sorry, I wrote sessions there. So basically previous seasons dictate that there's a general shift whenever they've tried to launch the assassin meta. They obviously have to perform a counterbalance where they bring in survivability, really, and generally what happens when you bring in assassins, the only way to straight up counter them is to be a super tank, right? You can't get killed by combinations performed by these assassins, and therefore, like, it just increases your likelihood to be relevant throughout the team fights and whatnot. So yeah, so basically whenever there is the rise of the assassin meta, tank meta sort of just comes in and takes over everything. And they sort of didn't hype this up because there were changes such as the mastery changes we saw. So Greenfather's Gift, now stepping into bush, causes you next basic damage or ability to deal 3% of your target's current health as bonus magic damage, and it's a 9-second cooldown on it. So fights in the jungle, fights in top lane, and yeah, so just fights overall. Like, if there's a bush around, and obviously the inclusion of Ivern, which kind of brings bushes to lanes, it's going to be fairly good for these tanks, or like because it's down in the cunning tree to be able to dish out that damage, right? And obviously, next up we have is Fearless. Gain 10% bonus armor and magic resist, plus 2 flat armor magic resist per level when damaged by an enemy champion for 2 seconds. So it's gonna beef you up a lot more. So if these assassins try and kill you, you're just gonna like randomly become tankier, right? So if they try to damage you, I should say, right? So that's obviously the new mastery aid. And then obviously Siege Master. This one's basically if you're versing an opponent that can sort of poke you down, or if you're versing a poke comp, it allows you a little bit more survivability if you're a tank. Because generally, when there's a poke comp, they tend to have that weird disengage going, so you can't really jump onto them. But now, because of this mastery, it sort of allows you a little bit more survivability while they're trying to poke you down. So yeah, it sort of brings out the tank meta, and it sort of gives them counterplay against all of these other sorts of comps that we're having, and obviously definitely against assassins. So a direct counter to assassins, new items, and cost reduction. So we get to see some new items now. You probably have checked it out in the patch notes, and there's also a cost reduction to said items that were previously like kind of hard to obtain. So that does mean that people are gonna tank up a lot faster. So it does pay to actually get more gold income. So a lot of these changes are sort of saying you need to generate income to be able to be as effective, but it does mean that these laners or like these tanks are gonna like tank up super fast, and if you don't farm as well, if you don't get that gold income as fast as they do, then yeah, the chances of you killing them is very, very slim. So that's one of the reasons why I think, that's the whole reason why I think tank meta is going to come around. It's basically first like because of the assassins, really, right? And because tank meta is around, so moving on to the next slide, we're going to see the rise of control mages, right? So what generally happens is because assassins are countered by tanks, and then tanks prolong fights, and who does really well in a prolonged fight are the control mages, but they also offer the ability to keep the assassins at bay, so they keep them contained. The way they do this is control mages really love to shove people in, right? Whenever you're shoved in, an assassin can't roam. And assassins really like to roam, right? They want to get from this lane to said other lane and have an impact on that lane and get some kills and start their snowball. Obviously not so much in the current patch, but like there's still a certain level of snowball there, right? So control mages are going to see a rise as soon as tank meta settles in, and you're going to see a lot less assassin play. Or even if you see assassin play, there's going to be control mages dealing with the tanks, right? And control mages are a lot harder to kill because they're super safe. They just wave clear all day, and if you try to kill them, they are somewhat tanky because they have that Ryle, so the Zonyers and whatnot. So yeah, so they are fairly hard to kill. So pretty much battle mage, right? And also the power trough can match the assassins. Obviously, cost reduction. Actually, I don't think there was much cost reduction on the items for the control mages, but like I think there was little buffs in there that sort of made them do a lot more damage than what they used to. Right, so power trough sort of matches up with the assassin power trough that you're gonna see. So that's one of the reasons we're gonna actually see the control mages sort of pop up, right, and have an impact. So masteries that are gonna be fairly relevant to the control mages are the double-edged sword. So increased damage dealt is 5%, so increased damage taken is 2.5% from that 1.5 we used to. And obviously this mastery got moved down from tier 2 to tier 4, right? Next is Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is something that you probably take on an assassin, but I think it's still relevant on a control mage because you can still have an impact, because you're still a damage dealer, right? So you still will be able to do damage and be able to pick up these other kills. So I really like the fact that they increase the damage per unique kill by 1.5. So the maximum bonus that you would get is 7.5%. Now 7.5% is actually a lot of damage, and if you're a control mage that is popping off, you're going to be doing so much damage. Now the reason why I don't think bounty hunters I'll say battle trance first, which is the new one. Gain up to 5% increased damage over 5 seconds when in combat with an enemy champion. Obviously, control mages, they love extended fights, and they do thrive in extended fights comparison to assassins or burst champions that sort of rely on that instant burst to sort of kill their targets, right? And because of tank meta, they can't really burst anyone, hence why control mages. So the reason why I don't think Bounty Hunter and Bellatrons are going to be used by tanks is because you have to go down fairly far in the ferocity tree, and to be able to go down far in the ferocity tree you need to be a bruiser rather than a full-on tank. So that's one of the reasons that we're not going to get to see Bounty Hunter and Bellatrons on these tanks, right? So they're just going to be going down the cunning tree and the resolve tree, I think, right? So yeah, so moving on to the next slide, which is they carry jungler. Now because we're going to see that shift where it goes from assassins to tank meta to the control mages, it does mean that a mid laner is safe. Top lane's usually safe because it's a general noodle fight, and we're still going to see that tank meta noodle fights. With a little bit more aggression coming out, and same with bot lane, like it's going to be a sustained lane overall, so you're not going to get to see much action. So it'll probably pay off to be a carry oriented jungler. So there is obviously going to be some jungle impacts of things like Elise is still going to be seeing Lee Sin and stuff like that because of the jungle camp changes. So the time, their clear times obviously affected, and also obviously Nidalee will also be seen in play. So there's going to be a level of trade-off. So basically, if you can clear camp and you're fairly healthy, you can either choose A to gank or B to go back and farm, because it does pay off. So if you do a trade-off for ganking, you may get the gank, but if you don't get the gank, then obviously your counterpart is getting really far ahead in gold and like far ahead from you, right? Because you just wasted that overall time because there was no gank opportunity there. So that's one of the reasons where we're going to see carry junglers. Now these junglers could be fairly well ranged junglers, so things like Twitch, Kindred, what else is there? The Graves are going to see more prominent play in the jungle role. The only reason is because they're able to sort of kite these jungle camps and take less damage. So remember, range junglers take a lot less damage than the the melee junglers, right? Because you're fighting in close quarters, so therefore you're more than likely to take an extra auto tax between your autos, right? In comparison to a ranged jungler, right? And obviously because these ranged junglers stay healthier in jungle, they can keep going until they're like really far ahead, right? So that's one of the reasons why we're gonna potentially see carry junglers sort of pop up. And obviously junglers like Nidalee and Shyvana and maybe even Udyr, they're gonna have a really fast clear. So there's gonna be like this trade-off, because I know red side jungle got changed, so Wraiths and Krugs are totally different, so it takes a long while to kill them in comparison, and they're a lot harder to kill compared to the other two camps, which is the Wolf camp and the Grump. So you may just see a trade-off between taking the blue side of the jungle and then going to gank, and then not really paying much attention to the red side, and just looking to counter jungle, and then potentially catch out the enemy jungler. So a lot more invades may be seen as well, right? So there's that. So moving on to the next slide, which is the support centric. Now the reason I love this is because I am a support main. Well, I tend to fall back to support from time to time if I don't have any luck in playing mid lane, top lane, or AD carry, right? So I do enjoy playing support, and I think the meta is going to change into where the supports are the ones that are going to have the most flexibility and the most fun in the meta that is to come, right? So the only reason, the reason due to this is the reduction in the itemization costs. So a lot of the items got their costs reduced, so you can get them a lot quicker. You can get all these support items a lot quicker. You can tank up a lot quicker. You can provide this security or this peeling for your carries a lot quicker, right? So you're gonna see a lot more movement from the support players, a lot more versatility, a lot more things. Like there's a lot more things to be done in the support role, which is I'm totally stoked about, and this is one of the seasons which is gonna be super exciting, right? And then obviously introduction of Knight's Vow. You can probably check out the item. It allows for a tanky build, and it's like a trade-off, right? So you can sort of go into combat and not worry about losing a lot of health if your AD carry is super safe. So it does pay off for you to peel for your AD carry, because if you're not peeling for them, you're not going to get healed up by the damage that they do, and vice versa. You tend to absorb some of the damage that they do take. So it's kind of cool. I really love that item. And introduction of Redemption. Now that item you can also check out. It's fairly cool. You can activate it even if you did. And it's like an AoE smite heal, and like a smite damage to enemy champions. And you can do it while you did as well. So it's kind of cool, right? And it's different because if someone's getting away and you just like boom, Redemption did, right? So I'm really excited for the support centric meta, because I think everything else is just going to settle in. It's going to be stock standard. Top lane, tank, mid lane, control mage, jungler just going to either be a farming or a secondary support role. Carries and secondary support role. AD carries are just going to farm it out. This is more than likely in the competitive style of play than in solo queue, whereas support is just going to have so much versatility, so much fun. They're going to do so many things. It's going to be so exciting, right? And in combination, they may be able to dual carries in the mid to late game, because they go so far down the cunning and the resolve tree. I think they actually may have the potential to actually dual out certain AD carries, or like certain carries in the mid to late game if you're playing a certain support, right? Because I've seen it in action firsthand, and I think that's fairly possible, right? Because if your AD carry is super safe, you're going to be getting healed so much. That means if you're in the face of the enemy carries, then you don't have to worry about a thing, right? You just auto attack them. You can maybe end up killing them, right? Because of these new masteries as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this. It does mean that we're going into this power meta where it's like everyone, it's a 5 damage, 5 carry meta, right? So you can have 5 people that do damage even if they're like super tanky. I don't know if it's gonna slow down the game. I think it's just gonna make it more hectic, but it's sort of similar to where Dota, where a lot of people are tanky and whatnot, and then it takes forever to fight. But yeah, like we may see a more prolonged team fights, but obviously more action. So it's gonna be really cool to watch these games as well. So I'm super excited for this. Next up is Marksmen shifts. Now personally, so the first 2 champions that I've listed is Vayne and Kog'Maw. This is a personal thing more than anything. I really love Vayne. I'm a big Vayne fan, and I really love Kog'Maw. I'm like a Kog'Maw fanboy, and I enjoy Kog'Maw, and I do want to see Kog'Maw come back because of the nulling effect that all these changes have on each other. So yada yada, like boom's gonna cancel, like top lane's gonna cancel out mid lane's gonna cancel out top lane, jungle yada yada, because of the meta shifts that we're gonna see. So we may just get to see a rise of those hyper carry status carries, right? AD carries, really. And this could just be for competitive play, because I think like in solo queue it would be a little different. So I'll talk about that a little bit later in the next point. But yeah, I think we're gonna see a rise of these hyper carries in the competitive side of things, and I'm really excited for this, and I think it'll be super cool in my opinion. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing these people, these champions make a comeback. Obviously, because the supports are kind of like opening doors for these hyper carries, because if they can peel for you, you can heal them. If you do more damage, your support stays alive for a lot longer, right? That King's thingy item, right? But yeah, but you may also see, so this is for solo queue primarily. So you may see other things at play. So you're gonna see very aggressive. So this is for solo queue. You can see very aggressive laners played like Lucian, Caitlyn, and Jhin. So that's the only reason is because like it's gonna be a lot more kill heavy in these lanes. And I think like in solo queue you're all about killing your opponent, because your support brings the kill factor now. It'll pay off to play those hyper aggressive laners, right? That can sort of bully and kill things, and it'll work out really well. But you may also see the rise of the AD carries like Israel, Twitch, and I also forgot to mention you may even see the rise of Kalista. Now we haven't seen that AD carry in a very long time, but I think it's gonna make a massive comeback now. I think it's only because of the meta, and only because of the playstyle that we're gonna be seeing that we're gonna see the return of Kalista, and I'm really excited for this as well because Kalista is one of the other champions that I really enjoy watching and seeing played, because it's a unique playstyle, it's a unique champion in its own regard, and it's really cool to watch, right? But we're also going to see the reduction in play of Ashe and Sivir, so the utility style may be going out of the meta, and yeah, so we're going to see a lot less of them. We may eventually get to see them in a couple of games, but it'll be against where they're not going to have the biggest impact, right? It's only because the comp that they were versing or the situation dictated that they picked them up, but more than likely you're not going to see much of them. So a reduction in play and overall for those two marksmen, right? Or the utility style marksmen, really. So yeah, so I think that pretty much covers all the shifts that we are going to see, or all the phases that we're going to go through. But let's conclude them also. In conclusion, because of the hype is going to be assassin meta for a while, because people are just gonna people are still learning all these new champions, because they dropped a whole bunch of champions that are totally different than what they used to be, so it's going to take a lot longer to get adjusted to these champions and to learn these champions. And then once everyone's learned these champions, and then they slowly start to learn how to play against these champions, and then once that happens, you're gonna see counter picks, and then slowly tank meta will settle in. So yeah, so assassin meta is gonna be here for a while, but it's gonna go away, because the only reason it's gonna be prolonged is because people are still learning it and people are still getting accustomed to it. It's not because it's the assassin meta, it's more that it'll take time for them to kind of get out of the hype, get out of that phase, or get accustomed to it, really. And then once that happens, once it stabilizes, tank meta will just straight up still end. Assassins will become not useless, not as viable anymore. I want to say that'll be probably the best thing to say. So assassins won't become as viable anymore, and because of the return of the tank meta, the control mages is gonna slowly start crawling out of their box. And then they tend to control these assassins well. So yep, so it's going to be control mages, tank meta, and throughout all of this we'll have the only role that was going to have the most fun is going to be that support role. It's a lot of versatility. I'm really excited for that support. So yeah, the support's going to have the most fun, and they're going to have the ability to have the biggest impact in this game, not like they didn't used to before. But yeah, the definition of playmaker is going to be super hyped, or super exaggerated, and not under exaggerated. It's gonna be playmakers galore. You're gonna see so many insane plays from the support role, right? And then lastly, it will be very aggressive AD carry plays that you're gonna see, and then eventually in tank meta, hyper carries will arise, and because people sort of will learn to play against these hyper carries, so you're gonna aggressive carries. So you may see very aggressive carries being played in the lower elos, or low challenger or masters or whatever, but then over time you will see the rise of the hyper carries, because competitive play will dictate what champions are gonna be picked, and then in competitive play they're gonna probably pick the hyper carries over these really aggressive laners. And so yeah, so that's gonna settle in. So I'm really excited for this, and this is what I think the shifts are gonna be like. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I think we're at the very end. So thank you very much for watching. Like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it. Make sure to subscribe to get early notifications on when my videos are out. I'll try and make videos daily, and I think I'm keeping up with my schedule, so it's pretty exciting. We've got a couple of new subscribers, which I'm kind of stoked. My videos are getting a couple of views and likes or whatever, so it's kind of really motivating me. But anyway, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time. Wolves out.